Welcome to Sunshine Cathedral's Queer God Squad. It's Thursday, October 16th, 2025. I am Bishop Durrell Watkins, the Senior Minister of the Sunshine Cathedral. With me today are Bishop Robert Griffin, Reverend Dr. Ann Atwell, and Reverend Kevin Tisdall. We are the Queer God Squad. Visit sunshinecathedral.org to learn more about us.
Queer God Squad was created by Hotspots Happening Out to support our mission to explore the value of faith in the LGBTQ community. There is no streaming TV show like this in the entire world.
In 2025, we are celebrating the 40th anniversary of Hotspots magazine, with Queer News Tonight sharing over 11,000 stories and 11 million views so far.
We are the largest nonprofit LGBTQ media organization in America, and we encourage you to support our mission to inform, entertain, and educate our community and allies.
This is the Sunshine Cathedral perspective. Queer God Squad remembers Charlie Kirk, but calls out dangers of white Christian nationalism. The murder last month of Christian nationalist Charlie Kirk dominated the news cycle for days and remained part of the news cycle for weeks. In a message sent directly to Sunshine Cathedral parishioners and friends, Bishop Durrell Watkins wrote, and I'm quoting, "From a pastoral perspective, I can say it was a tragedy that yet another person has been victimized by gun violence. What I must also hasten to add is that a lot of the public performative grieving for Kirk is also promoting white Christian nationalism." Kirk made a career promoting racist and homophobic, anti-trans and misogynistic ideologies. While our better natures may weep for another life taken by gun violence and the pain caused to his family, let us not forget the many families that are harmed by hateful ideologies and violence. And we must not let a sad event give cover to the promotion of white Christian nationalism, end quote. In the United States, about 30% of the country fit the description of white Christian nationalists. And the data show that churches are where white Christian nationalism is taught and reinforced. In his missive, Bishop Durrell added, again quoting, "If we find that as horrifying as we should, that means we must be a different kind of church, one that actively resists oppressive ideologies and offers a clear alternative," end quote. Now, I got to tell you, when he was assassinated, I wasn't really sure who Charlie Kirk was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I really wasn't. And then the stuff started coming out. I am sad that another person, another life was lost to gun violence. But what he promoted was so hateful. Mm-hmm. No one should die of gun violence, but let's not make a martyr of somebody who espoused such hateful language and who vilified such marginalized and vulnerable communities.
Yeah. And you say no one should die from gun violence. He would disagree with you.
Exactly.
And did.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's sort of this shock jock thing that, from back in the Limbaugh days. This is a performance that works amongst bitter or wounded or uneducated or indoctrinated people.
Yeah.
And sometimes they overlap who they are. But back when he was just working for a living like a person, he made, he made modest income. Once he went on this path, he died a millionaire.
Yeah.
This was lucrative for him, and what he was selling was hate. Hate towards trans people, denigration of women, hate towards immigrants and people of color. There's nothing Christian about that. If Christian means trying to be like Christ, be a little Christ, Christian, if you're being a little Christ following Jesus, there's nothing about it, because Jesus himself, a brown person, Jesus himself living in an occupied territory where he was where he was a minority, Jesus who said, love your neighbor, Jesus who said, they'll know you are my disciples by the way you love each other. Jesus who was executed, a state execution for being considered a criminal, a rabble-rouser, a threat to the state. There's nothing Christian about being on the side of domination and empire. There's nothing Christian about being on the side that devastates and horrifies and scares and frightens and diminishes and controls and oppresses minorities. And so, Christ was always on the side and taught to be on the side of the oppressed, of the marginalized, of those who suffer injustice, and to visit them in prison, and to visit them in their sick wards, and to touch them when they've been told they are untouchable, and to feed them when they are hungry, and to see that of God in them, and even to attempt to liberate them from their oppression, and certainly to offer whatever good news you can find to give them, especially to the poor and oppressed. That's what Christ was. Those who try to embrace those values are what Christians are, and there's none of that in white Christian nationalism, and this was a white Christian nationalist. And you can hate. You can be sad that he is a victim of hate and still hate the hate that he both promoted and was victimized by.
Exactly.
So I know that sometimes we take great solace in thinking we're the good guys who can just justify or excuse or overlook anything. That's not good.
Yeah.
That is codependent. That is empowering the wrong thing. That's telling victims that their victimization doesn't matter. I hate gun violence. I've never owned a gun. I've never held one in my hand. Maybe as a kid, a toy gun, of course. But I don't know anything about guns. I don't like guns. I don't want guns. And I understand that some people think they have a right to them. Having a right to guns does not mean that you have a right to not be regulated.
Yes.
Your car, to drive a car, to even buy a house, you've got to have insurance. You've got, everything. You have to take tests for things. I remember going to sex clubs in the 90s. If you're younger than me, you don't know what a sex club is. You don't know what the 90s were. But I remember you had to pass a test to get into the sex club because it was when AIDS was going on. And so you had to show them that you knew how to behave safely for them to take your money and let you in. And so regulation, this idea that there's one thing and it's a deadly thing that needs no regulation, that makes no sense to me. But again, Kirk would disagree with me and did, and even said that murders are just the cost of doing business, the price that has to be paid for your gun rights. Some people are going to just get the wrong end of it. Too bad, so sad. I think it was wrong.
Yeah.
I think it was terribly wrong. And I think that attitude has caused a lot of pain, including now his own families.
Yeah.
And so I get really annoyed when people say, oh, you're being mean and we should be better than that. And, and he was Christian and Christians should take that. Read a book, pay attention, watch a news story, think about this 2 more minutes. No. He caused a lot of pain, and the pain he caused actually hurt him in the end. And I'm sorry about all of that. And what he spent his life doing was really bad.
Yeah.
I think, like many, I'd never heard of this guy before all of this happened. And I know it's been a month now, and we're several weeks beyond it. But some of the things that I noticed that popped up after the killing is that the comparison between him and Martin Luther King.
Oh my gosh, gut punch.
And it was like a gut punch. And people, and there was some well thought out articles about why he was not like King. And I think one of the lines that caught me was, in order to be like King, you have to look at how King lived his life in order to say he was anywhere close. And that's not something he did with his advocacy. It's not something he did with calling for unity. It's nothing that he did in any of his speeches where it's like, let's come together. And we know how Dr. King lived his life. We know the examples that he left. And that's a legacy that I think will live on very, very differently versus the attempted staged legacy of this individual, or the one that they're trying to make up to make sure it holds up. But I think the thing that I pay attention to around all this is that, the attempt now to set up chapters on university campuses of all of it so that this can continue. And it just makes me wonder, was this something, once again, that was just there all along and the onions have been peeled back? And boom, there it is. And I don't think it took, I'm not a fan of assassinating and killing and, ownership and stuff like that. Not looking at taking one's free speech or guns away. But I think you have to be responsible for what you speak. And this end result for him was not something I would wish on anybody. But you have to accept responsibility of what you're saying. And I think that's the thing I think a lot of people want to forget about, that there's a consequences to what you say. This is not the right consequences, in my opinion, for someone to do this. And I don't care who it was. This was just not the right consequences. There's other ways that this could have been dealt with through public speaking, through advocacy. And at the same time, we have to remind ourselves to be mindful of what we say. In a way that reminds people that we are all human, we're all innate good, and that we are called to a higher calling versus this type of hate speech.
He was called a Christian martyr.
Yeah.
And
That's what scares me most.
I contend he was neither Christian nor a martyr.
martyr.
Exactly.
He was a victim, like many victim, and I hate that for him and for his family. But he was not a martyr. He did not die for a worthy cause. He did not die for a noble cause. He did not die trying to lift up broken or oppressed or hurting people. In fact, he promoted what hurt people, and what he was on the side of racism. He was against people who already have the deck stacked against them. He was not a Christian martyr.
No.
He was a victim of violence, and until then, he was a fan of the weapon that took his life. So he was not a Christian martyr. He was a victim. I'm sad about the victim, but he was not a Christian martyr.
So many things came to my mind as I started listening to the stories over a month ago about this gentleman's killing. And the first thing that got to me was they started using the phrase assassinated. Assassination to me is a specific word for a specific group of people who were world leaders, people who were religious leaders occasionally. He was none of the above. He was another murdered individual who should have never been murdered in the way that he was killed with this wanton gun violence. That
He was
my
also a
first
bigot whose name we should never have heard of.
Yeah,
Right, exactly.
And that was the whole thing, that we may not have heard about this fellow, but he had been infecting college campuses across the world, here in America and in the UK at least, with his type of message. And his message was always, to me, now that I've read some of his stuff, geared to young white men who are afraid of losing something.
Yeah.
He in my opinion, took the whole thought of freedom and said that it had a finite shape. It was only enough to go around for some people. And those people, just like it's been said over centuries, those people are trying to take away from you something that is inherently yours.
Like racists equate freedom with maintaining privilege.
Right,
exactly.
always. So then I listened to Barack Obama, and he started off the way we did. Nobody should ever be murdered. Nobody should ever die in the manner that this man died. And listen to what this man used to say. This man, Obama said, denigrated my wife. Said that she did not have the brain capacity to do anything. This man said that if he walked on an airplane and saw a black pilot, he would wonder if it was safe.
Meanwhile, he can fly a balloon. He can fly a kite, but he's worried about somebody else.
I'm telling you. And we have to look at the numbers from 2024 and see how the orange maniac who's in the White House got elected. And if you look at what you would have expected liberal enclaves, you would look and see that they weren't as liberal as they used to be. Colleges and universities, where more and more people voted for this guy because, well, number one, he lied, but that's another broadcast. But this Kirk went into those campuses and he fed into that ugliness and said, look out, they're coming to take what little you have. Meanwhile, they have everything.
They have everything.
Yeah.
But, and also keep in mind, happened a month ago, but on that very same day, there was another shooting.
Yes.
Say what?
There was another shooting
Crickets.
by Merritt based upon what he was putting out.
Yeah.
And that was another shooting that, and again, how much have you heard about that particular shooting?
Yeah, I think
These
it was
are
in Texas,
kids.
and I didn't hear anything about it.
These were kids, at school. And it's like, really? You're going to differentiate between, the heinous act of using a gun to kill anybody is just heinous. There needs to be gun control. There, I said it. And to look at how the two have been treated, and those since then,
Yes.
they're still like chirp.
And
around
that
control.
side of things, if we can talk about sides, I know that sounds a little divisive, but it is what it is.
True.
If that, I've heard more from that side about the death of this one man than I heard about any school shooting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any school shooting.
And in
Children.
each one of them, they have been quick to shift the blame to, oh, that was a transgender person, Or,
There
oh,
have
that was
been
so
more
on the
trans
left.
people accused of things than even exist. I mean, it's always a trans
Like,
person. Like they're just out and about. They don't draw attention to themselves because they're scared of you.
Yeah, they're trying to demonize the other and use it doesn't work that way. We see you for who you are,
See it.
and thank you for just being out about who you are.
Breathe deep.
And that's today with the Queer God Squad.
Before we go, I want to invite you to check out the Performing Arts series. Sunshine Cathedral Center for the Performing Arts has great acts lined up for 2025 and 2026 season. Here is a taste of what is coming up.
Golden Ghouls. Picture it. Halloween 2025 will be on our stage one night only, October 25th.
Then, on November 7th, we welcome back Miss Coco Peru in Fuck This Shit. If this show is like her other tours de force, there will be storytelling, laughs, singing, and a moral to tie up the evening. Or maybe this one is entirely different. You'll have to come to the show to know for sure. But you already know it's going to be one of the best nights of comedy and drag artistry you will have enjoyed all year.
December 7th brings Matthew Darren's annual holiday Fantasia, always amazing, and this year it will again be co-hosted by Varla Jean Merman.
And in 2026, there are already some great shows lined up, such as Selections from Pearly, a musical based on the play Pearly Victorious by Ossie Davis, on February the 7th. For more information about these shows and others, and to secure your tickets, go to sunshinecathedral.org/arts, and also be sure to check out the Cathedral Pub.
Please like and share this episode on your social media and look for Sunshine Cathedral on Facebook or Instagram.
You can also like our individual pages on Facebook. Remember to visit sunshinecathedral.org frequently. There you will find Bishop Talk, where Bishop Durrell and I interview queer religious leaders, activists, and scholars.
Thank you for joining the Queer God Squad today. We are here daily at 3 p.m. to have some fun and to discuss what our LGBTQ community is talking about.
Sunshine Cathedral is the world's leading progressive queer church. Progressive, queer, and God are words that naturally should go together. Remember that we are all in this together, and also remember, you are God's miracle and not God's mistake. Until next time, we are the Queer God Squad. Goodbye.